July 13th, 2024, a mere week and a half ago, former President Trump is holding a rally in Pennsylvania, a vital swing state. He is prepared to accept the Republican nomination in several days. Just minutes into his speech, shots ring out. 3 shots very close together. A round strikes Trump's ear. He ducks. A very amazing man, Corey Comprador, loses his life as an extra 5 shots ring out. Thomas Crook, the shooter, is then eliminated, as far as we know, by a Secret Service counter sniper team. A lot of things have occurred, and there is a lot of misinformation. A lot of people who don't understand ballistics, who don't understand how guns work. Here at Grand Thumb, my name is Mike. I'm a former Air Force Special Warfare guy, and we have Charles.
I would describe myself in a couple ways. One, I'm a veteran. On certain days there's free breakfast, and also I'm a Secret Service agent.
Charles is a competition shooter. Of course, we have Micah. How would you describe yourself, Micah?
I shoot thousands of rounds a week and play video games. That's my life.
Together, me, Charles, and Micah have fired well over 100,000 rounds as of this year alone. So we shoot a lot. We do a lot of ballistic testing, and today we're going to be recreating the assassination attempt. We're going to be testing ballistics. We're going to be debunking myths, and we're going to be providing the best facts that we currently have as of today. You have to understand, this didn't occur that long ago. Facts are subject to change as more information is released, but from what we know right now, we're as close as we can get to recreating the actual event. Today in Grand Thumb, we recreate the assassination attempt and we test all the myths. Now, before we get into it, we of course have to thank the sponsors. They keep this content free. We have who, Charles?
The Smug Dykes Institute.
The Sonoran Desert Institute. If you're looking to get your start in gunsmithing, they're the people to go to. And Micah, who can we not forget?
Primary Arms, providing with any optics that you might need to also pull a attempted assassin.
There you have it.
Now,
we recommend getting better at shooting, unlike the assassin. So we recommend dry fire. Charles, what's the best way to do that?
Mantis, help you get better for all those doctors in Chicago.
There you have it. And Mantis will turn your weapon into a dry fire machine. We'll be showing it today. And of course, all ammunition provided for by AAC. Let's get into it. So let's go over some quick events right here. We know that Thomas Crooks, the assassin attempter, was spotted at the rally early on with a rangefinder. A rangefinder is going to allow him to gauge the distance of the shot, which is extremely important. Now, we know that between an hour to 30 minutes is when he gained access to the event, and he climbed onto the roof somewhere around 30 minutes prior to. Now, it gets a little hazy at that point. There's still a lot of information coming out, but what we do know is that right before he shot, or he was forced to shoot, two officers attempted to see who was on the roof. When officers boosted up to peek over the roof, they saw Thomas Crooks, who was approximately between 130 to 150 yards away from President Trump. When the cop peeked over the top, Thomas Crooks turned his rifle towards him. The cop dropped back down. Thomas then turned back, got behind the rifle, and from the first shot to his demise was 10 seconds. He fired 3 initial shots. One grazed Trump's ear. At that point, the Secret Service was able to dive onto Trump to protect him with their bodies. And then he fired 5 more rapid fire, during which time I would say a hero, Corey Comprador, dove upon his family to protect their lives. And we really do have to point out that a really great man did lose his life. Now, at that point, Thomas Crooks, was eliminated. So what we're going to be testing today is recreating both the assassination attempt as well as debunking a lot of theories that we've heard. So we're going to start with debunking those theories.
The first theory that we're going to debunk, which is incredibly ignorant because it's promoted by those who don't understand weapons at all, is that this was staged and the shooter, Thomas Crooks, actually wanted to hit Trump's ear and nothing else for the optics of the occasion, right? To get a boost in the polls. We're going to debunk that, and I think those watching who may disagree with the whole event as it actually happens are going to be very surprised on how not possible a shot like that is.
Let's delve into it. Now, there is some concern about how far was the shooter from President Trump. That's still being figured out. But right now we have it about the midpoint of 140 yards. So right here, what we have is your typical lower tiered AR. So the shooter had a inexpensive AR-15. So the first thing that we have to understand is that rounds, when they are fired, do not travel and hit the exact point every time. There are inconsistencies in the manufacturing of the slug and the amount of powder charge in the brass and how the barrel is flexing as that slug travels down it. So how we describe that as a shooter is there is essentially a circle. So if I'm aiming at the center point, there is an inherent accuracy that a rifle has a potential for. This is typically measured in inches at 100 yards. So your typical AR-15, your typical military M4 will have about 2 to 3 inch circle that it can reliably fire into at 100 yards. So being that Thomas was using an AR-15, a lower grade one, that's probably closer to the 3 inch mark, or as a shooter would say, the 3 MOA mark. So you have to understand at 140, that's going to be approximately 4.5 to 5 inches at 140 to 150 yards. So when we talk about a shot that's going to be piercing the ear, that is mechanically for the weapon going to be impossible to make that precise of a shot. Now, there are weapons that do have that precision and that can do it, but is an AR-15 going to be able to do that, Micah? Your typical bottom of the barrel?
Absolutely not.
So what we're going to do is we're going to show that first with a lower tiered AR, and then we'll bring out one of the most accurate AR-15s that we have, and we will attempt that. And even our most accurate AR-15s are shooting about 0.8 of an inch at 150.
Still over an inch.
Still over the size of the ear, especially given the angle. Trump's ears are kind of large, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, I'm going to be taking 3 shots now, and I want to be very clear, I cannot even see the ears, but I'll guess if I was intentionally trying to shoot them, this would be a hard shot. All right, Charles, you on glass?
On glass.
On you.
Okay, I'm over 3 shots. I'm just trying. Okay, so to be clear, we're using about your factory standard ammo, which isn't super accurate either, and even the same aiming point at this, I'm not precise enough to make reliable hits, let alone on the very small inside box of the head, which is where the CNS is and everything, but let alone the ear. What I'll do at this point is I'm going to break out our most accurate weapon with the most accurate ammunition we have in a magnified optic. I'm going to attempt to make this shot. Okay, we have an infinitely better gun. We have what's called a Mark 12. This is very accurate, firing 77 grain Sierra Match Kings, about as accurate as we can get. And you know what? I'm a much better shot than that little bitch. So let's give this a shot.
Not see.
So I'm trying not to hit the head right now,
Got
because obviously I don't want to kill my target if I'm just trying to maim him.
left ear or right ear?
Right, left ear.
About half an inch off the ear.
Was that through his head?
Yeah.
Well, you failed your mission.
Got the ear.
Yeah! I did it! Okay. Well, in a high-stress situation, after having just been surprised by a cop, I swing around my highly precise Mark 12 rifle as a trained military shooter, and I'm able to hit the air after putting it around through former President Trump's head. This is not realistic, guys. For the weapon that he used, it was not possible. This makes it more likely, but still not a guarantee. He would have needed a precision weapon to make the shot. This is 100% false. He did not try to hit the ear. That was merely a miss. I would say an act of God, because Trump's going to be president. The next myth that we're going to bust is the myth that his ear would have exploded from the force of the projectile, either coming close or impacting his ear. So what we have right here is ballistics gelatin. This is an approximation of human flesh. So right here we have about 1 inch in thickness, and this is going to replicate the cartilage of the ear. This is actually a fairly good analog. And we're actually going to be a little bit closer than the shooter, clearly, but this actually is going to impart more force onto the quote-unquote ear. So we're going to be starting with more than likely what he used, which is a 55 grain projectile, and we'll then walk it up to an even more powerful hunting type projectile to see how those both would affect cartilage.
When Mike originally proposed something in inch thickness, I was willing to stand in front of that shot.
That hit it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You couldn't even tell it hit.
Didn't even move.
Okay, so let's take a look at that right here. Here is our impact, and there is the clean hole. There is the clean exit. Now, you might be confused. You might be wondering to yourself, why did this do so little damage? Well, it actually comes down to how the 5.56 works. The 5.56 is an incredibly lethal round. However, it needs to reach those vital organs in the body before it begins to impart its damage. So 5.56, when it enters the human body or enters flesh, typically doesn't begin to tumble for at least 6 to 10 inches, at which point the round will begin to break apart, will begin to spin and yaw, and that's by design. So hitting such a thin piece of flesh, this is par for the course for 5.56, where it doesn't do that much damage and it pencils in and out. In fact, with certain rounds, even through very skinny individuals, they'll pass in and out without imparting a whole lot of damage. The next question is some people have said if Trump hadn't have turned his head, that round would have passed through the back of his skull, killing him. Let's go ahead and let's see. We have the firing pin removed from this particular rifle, and magazine out and capable of firing. So what we're doing is we're looking through a high-powered optic to kind of better visualize it. But in our sight picture, we have Charles. So if I'm aiming at the head, you can see as he's turning that's vastly changing my shot from the head, the temple, to the ear. And given the variability of the AR-15 when it's firing, there's going to be a very stark difference between that impact due to the mechanical accuracy problems with the AR-15. So we just wanted to visualize that for you guys with a nice optic, and you can imagine on a red dot how difficult that would be.
Do you have a friend who's difficult to buy for, or are you indecisive in yourself and you just want to get a cool box of gun-related and tactical stuff? Well, do we have product for you? Now, this video is brought to you by TacPack. TacPack is a subscription service. There are 2 tiers. First tier is going to cost you about $60. You're going to get between $90 to $120 value per box. And the second tier is going to cost $139.99. It's going to give you between $240 and $300 value. Box that we have right here that we just opened up, we got a lot of cool stuff. We got some Razer headphones. We have a radiant charging handle, which is our personal favorite here on the channel. Nice BCG, and you can never have enough bolt carrier groups. We have some gloves in here, of course, a shirt, a Reptilia grip. These are all great products. We're not getting bottom of the barrel stuff. You never know what you're gonna get, but it is always helpful for the gun connoisseurs. Make sure if you're ordering to use code GRANDTHUMB. That's gonna give you a free EDC kit worth over $65.
Now, my favorite part, we're going to be showing the counter sniper shot on Thomas Crooks that took his life for being a ginormous piece of shit. So what we have right here is a Mark 13 Mod 5. Now, the Secret Service counter sniper teams use a Mark 13 Mod 7, the difference being in a newer chassis, but it is the same heart of the weapon. We still have a Remington 700 long action and 300 Winchester Magnum. If you've never seen a 300 Winchester Magnum, you have 5.56. So we have a 5.56 round right here. That's from your typical AR-15 that Thomas Crooks is firing. It's you versus the guy she told you not to worry about. This is a long-range precision cartridge. This weapon is deadly accurate, as we can see. And this will regularly print far under an inch on paper at 100 and can easily make those very precise small shots, which is why it is used not just by the Secret Service, but by multiple military special operations around the world. Now, the shot from the counter sniper team was actually quite close at about 130 yards. Now, we know from the first shots that Thomas Crooks took to 10 seconds later, he was then dead. That is wonderful reaction time. Let's go ahead and let's see what that would have looked like through the optic, what it would have looked like in slow motion, and see the approximate damage it would have done. There's a lot of variables here. We do have the photo of Thomas Crooks post-mortem, although we can't show it due to YouTube rules, but there are some unknowns, but we believe right now the round entered somewhere around just below his left temple and exited somewhere around his neck. Again, ballistics is wild. We might not see the same, we probably will not see the same results with this particular shot, but it will give you an indication of just how powerful the 300 Winchester Magnum is. So right here we have the Mark 13 Mod 5. We're going to be shooting at 130. To start with, I'm going to be shooting on paper so that you guys can see what the recoil looks like through the optic as I'm firing, you can see what I see.
Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot at the paper so you guys can see what that looks like. And that was straight through the head right there. And what we're gonna look at now is you're gonna look at what a head would look like at the approximate zoom range that he was at through his optic. So a couple things to note here is that it looked like there are two positions for the lever on the Night Force ATACR that they were running. So we have it at the second position. So we could be off on our magnification level compared to where they were at. They were probably zoomed out pretty far to get like a wide picture of what was going on. But nonetheless, this is good for illustrative purposes. So now I'm going to take one more shot so you can see what that recoil looks like. And as you can see, this gun is dead on accurate. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and take a shot at the skull so you can see what the Secret Service counter sniper would have seen through his optic as he sent another person to hell. On you. All right.
So as you can see, through the optic, we had a whole lot of mist. The head was completely vaporized. Now you have to understand that depending on the ammunition that was used, a lot of factors, the head can behave differently when it's hit depending on where. If it's more of a fleshy portion, you're not gonna blow up the brain quite as much. But this was good illustrative to show the extreme power of the 300 Winchester Magnum and the fact that if you notice, I didn't do any holds. That means I wasn't have to aim above or below depending on where the round was going to impact, because within about the first 300, you have very little drop. The 300 Winchester Magnum is an absolute laser beam at these distances. The ammunition that we were using was military ammunition known as Mark 248 Mod 0. This is a possibility, or they could have been using even better civilian ammunition that would have been more accurate. So a good representation. In any case, the counter sniper team did excellent. They sent that man to hell, and no more damage was done than was already done, and much tragedy was averted. So with all those things being done, let's go ahead and let's wrap this up. We've finished all of our tests. I think we've conclusively proven that he did try to take the shot. There's no way that he was able to try to shoot trumps here, that anything so far that would indicate that this was a hoax. An amazing man died. It wasn't just not firing. So we've been able to educate you, to provide context, to provide ballistic performance so that you understand better what was going on behind the shooting as we know right now. Obviously more information doesn't come out. If something crazy comes out that changes everything, we'll do another video. But as it stands right now and the information that we have, this is pretty true to form. We're not gonna make any comments on tactics, procedures, or anything like that because my background is on protective security details. That was never my background. My background is in firearms, my background is in ballistics and military. So we'll leave that to other experts to talk about, but we just wanted to provide that firearm context. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We have tons of cool content. Please go and check it out. Many more good things coming. And as always, stay cool, have a good time with your family, and we got nothing else for you guys.